And let us start with President Biden right there. He addressed America from the Oval Office at the Resolute desk for the final time last night at 8:02 with a very grim, dark tone for the future of America.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us with the latest. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. This is the last time that a lot of people watching are ever going to hear President Biden talk about being a kid from Scranton. And we learned that more than anything, he wants to be seen by historians as a visionary, somebody who is happy to have the help of wealthy tech CEOs when they support him, but very concerned about these wealthy tech CEOs when they support Donald Trump.
I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy.
The president also talked about AI and how important it is for the future of AI to be controlled by Americans, not the Chinese. So he wants us to trust these wealthy tech CEOs with potentially dangerous AI, but he doesn't want us to trust them with anything else. And to make that point, he channeled Dwight Eisenhower.
In his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. Just 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well.
The president struggled with the teleprompter at times, giving this farewell address that, as recently as 6 months ago, is happening the same week that they told us he was going to be giving his second inaugural address. And if you look at the arc over the last 5 years, he went from 2020, Joe Biden, no malarkey, to 2025, Joe Biden, no tech oligarchy. Back to you.
Oh, nice.
That's very nice.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Hey, Peter,
Well
maybe he wasn't having a problem with the teleprompter-archy. Maybe it was just the fact that adjacent to him, just off camera, his whole family was dressed in black, sitting with, there you see the vice president and the second gentleman as well. Maybe that's why he, paused from time to time. Does the family know when they're going to be getting their pardons?
Well, by Monday at noon, they hope, unless they're going to contact Donald Trump for it. But throughout the speech, it just didn't seem like he, as somebody who is the #1 consumer of Joe Biden content over the last 6 years or so, it didn't seem like he was really into it. And this is surely an emotional time for him. But he gets choked up talking about just about anything involving his childhood or his early career. And it didn't seem like it was there. They chose to have him make this warning instead. Somebody wants to have Joe Biden be able to say, "I told you so." The problem is a lot of very bad things have to happen in the country for that to happen.
Yeah. All right. Peter, thank you very much.
Peter, did you see that Joe Biden was holding Kamala's hand in that one picture? So I don't get it. What is their relationship? Because
good question.
At the funeral, at Carter's funeral, they didn't even speak. Now, granted, it was a funeral, but when she sat down, they didn't acknowledge each other.
The one thing Donald Trump said is, we talked a lot before they walked out in the pews for that. But I don't think they get along. I think that's obviously true. And she's been a disastrous vice president, a terrible candidate, and not even standing up for California at a time in which she could really shine.
Wait, Doug's holding
and
her hand,
to
too.
jump into the void. Was she losing her balance? I'm not sure.
Well, I think Joe Biden was talking about his partner, the vice president.
Well, that could be an important part. We'll see. But the one thing is clear. Joe Biden is going out and he's trying to collect as much as he can in terms of wins. But there's a story today in the Washington Post how quiet the Democratic Party has been in defending him. Even Chris Coons, for the most part, would find a camera and say, Joe Biden's a genius, or Joe Scarborough, this is the best version of Joe Biden. So they went from that to zero. So I guess they're saying, don't let the door hit you as you leave.
Well, I think also his legacy is, they used to say he was a nice, honest man. His legacy, he's not an honest person. I mean, he lied about the pardon.
James Comer's report.
Exactly. He lied about the relationship with his son and his business dealings. And then he said he wasn't going to pardon him, and he does that. I even look at yesterday. This is an opportunity for bipartisanship. I'm not suggesting he not be a politician and say, you know, I'm responsible for this deal that just happened between Hamas and Israel. But to look at the reporter and laugh it off and say, what do you think? Oh,
Is that a
in
joke?
such a condescending
joke?
The
way.
reporter said,
Are you kidding me?
Does Trump deserve credit for the ceasefire? And he laughed and said, is that a joke?
Like
That was Jackie Heinrich who asked that question, and it was an absolute good one. Look, you know, you talk about over the arc of his 4 years. Remember, I think the quotation that will live on past his presidency and into eternity is the fact that, as Robert Hur described him, he's a kindly older gentleman with a really bad memory. Well, last night we watched for 18 minutes. He had a really bad memory of all the stuff we went through. He can put on his rose-colored contacts and say, hey, it was a great 4 years, but there's a reason he lost. And in fact, his current approval ratings are at the lowest at the same time that Donald Trump's approval rating have never been higher. Donald Trump is more powerful and popular in the country today than he was when he came into office in 2017.
Well, Ainsley, people are excited.
Yeah, you know what? People are very excited about Monday, and we're seeing a lot of Democrats that are even excited. Look at what's happening at Silicon Valley. All those guys are going to be sitting up there with him on the 20th, on Monday. But I think when you watched his speech last night, I think he's so bitter, angry. We need a positive message right now about the future. This was his chance to be kind and to say, I wish Donald Trump well. These are my successes over the last 4 years, instead of condemning everybody and warning us of extreme wealth and power and influence. These men that he's angry at, all of, you know, the Elon Musks and Bezos,
Zuckerberg.
they have
Democrats.
created huge companies that bring in so much money for our economy.
Right, and that's part of the reason, too. It's like Barack Obama benefited, even though he vilified oil and gas, he benefited from the growth of fracking during his term. And they said, well, look at my natural gas selection. It's nothing to do with you. And he's going to say, look at the growth of the economy. Well, it's a lot to do with the tech center and the growth of AI.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.